folks. Oh, my camera is centered. There we go. So, sorry, that's where I actually meant to be. Hi, I'm a little scattered today. Welcome to this week's tarot stream. If you are just joining us for the first time or haven't missed, last week's, we are making our way. Hi, don't put me on pizza. Most of us are a little scattered, I think. I am. Yeah. Hi, Matricula. Yes, I was away for a while. I was in Maine, and then the week was very busy when I got back, and I just didn't have time to see all you lovely people like I wanted to. But I am back today. We are doing the thing, and we are continuing to make our way through the cards of the Minor Arcana. So last time we were all together, we looked at the sevens and the ways that they challenge us, the kinds of challenges that they talk about, challenges and obstacles. This week, we are moving on to the eights, which in my view, in my interpretation, the eights kind of look like how we react and respond when we're faced with a challenge, when we're faced with an obstacle, when conflict arises. So different strategies that we might use to deal with or approach the challenges thrown at us by the sevens. So it makes, it's a progression. That's kind of my sense of the eights. So they tend to be, again, about different kinds of movement, but it's a reactionary movement to me. It's a reactionary movement instead of that kind of exploratory or forward-moving movement with the sixes. And yeah, don't put me on pizza. Some folks, and I don't have a good example in my head right now, but some tarot readers, some folks who write a lot about tarot, can kind of trace a story through the numbers of the Minor Arcana, kind of stitching together either a slightly different story for each suit or kind of a big overarching story that talks about what all the numbers have in common. So all the aces, then all the twos, kind of like we've been doing. I have not found one of those yet that really satisfies me. One of the things that I'm kind of looking forward to doing is, Matricula bits, pride bits. Aw, thank you. Thank you so much. Always. I appreciate that immensely. Yay. But yeah, sorry, one of the things that I'm really looking forward to doing, I think after we kind of get through this sequence, is going back and looking a little bit at reflecting on what I've said and what I've learned and what I've thought about these cards and seeing if a story that suits me, that makes sense to me, has emerged. And I will be sure to update you on that, pizza. But awesome observation. Also, everyone, if you're in chat and you don't follow Matricula, you should probably just go do that because she's excellent. Not just as a mod, but as a singer and a knitter and a doer of awesome things. So let's get started with the eights. I'm gonna, as usual, start off with the swords, or the corresponding suit in my deck. Yeah, pizza, that's a start. That's a thing. The not that there hasn't been a lot going on in all the suits, but the like tail end of the suits kind of they get pretty intense, at least in the swords. The swords are not pulling any punches here at the end of the suits. So, right away, Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, pizza. The 10, oof. The only thing good about it is that it's the farthest down you can go. Awesome. But the 8 here, yes, absolutely, pizza. Please put a pin in that, hold on to that, and we will certainly address it. So, the Rider-Waite-Smith 8 of Swords. As you can see, we've got to me, this figure always reads as feminine to me, but a figure, a person, bound, blindfolded, in the midst of a field of swords. Lots of swords all over. Bound and ready for sacrifice, maybe pizza. So one of the mental associations I have with this when I look at it is Psyche, of Eros and Psyche, or Cupid and Psyche, bound up and left out as a sacrifice, left to die. However, that's not necessarily what this is about. It's well observed, Matricula. The ground is very puddly. It looks pretty uneven. Otherwise, water wouldn't have collected unevenly. So the ground is uneven. It's wet. That implies that the rest of it is muddy. Absolutely, pizza. Maybe after a storm, been through some turbulence. She's out here in the marshes or wherever she is alone because the castle's back here. So civilization, life, support is back here. And she's out here alone. So, hey, Spam and Scope. So, my disclaimer is the fortune telling tag is only on this stream because there's no divination tag or tarot tag. This is not fortune telling. Sorry. But there's no divination tag, there's no fortune telling tag. Apologies. And I predict that November 6th, not enough people will vote. I hope I'm wrong. Anyway, so this card is about, we talked about sacrifice, and there may be some element of it there, but it's about hesitation. It's about feeling so bound up that we can't move forward. We can't pick a direction. We feel stuck where we are. To me, this talks about, like, because swords are about our brains, right? About our minds. It talks about spirals, like the anxiety spiral, where our brains just keep going, keep churning, and we can't turn it off, and we feel like we can't move, we can't do anything with it. Sometimes this talks about feeling like we just don't have enough information. Would you want to walk across this marshy, uneven ground blinded? Seems like a good way to fall. So it seems like there are legitimate reasons to be standing still. There are obstacles. We can't see them. We can't figure out where we should go or what we should do, so we're just going to stand still. We're just going to freeze. We're going to be still. We're going to hope it gets better. Maybe someone will untie us. Maybe we'll get help. But until then, we're just going to stay still. So this is about when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we don't feel like we can make good decisions, when we don't feel like we can move on or move forward in the face of obstacles. So, Rider-Waite-Smith, standard images, kind of standard interpretation. Moving on to the Thoth deck, Eight of Swords. The key word here is interference, and we've got two straight swords crossed by 6 curved or bent or barbed or tapered blades. So the message here is that, to me, is that these two straight swords have a mission or have a direction, and these swords are interfering. There's a lot of the same feeling, a lot of the same implications as here, that there's a lot going on, that we can't move past it, that things are in our way. But this feels more like obstructionism. Hi, Crafty. Hello, welcome. Don't put me on pizza. That's possible. If this is the system getting in the way of all of these missions, that's possible. But regardless, right, don't put me on pizza. The straight swords are blocking and delighting the curvy and tapered. And oh, thank you, Crafty. Thank you so much for renewing. That means so much. Thank you. Yay. And folks, just in case you're unaware, if you do subscribe, I'm more than happy to give you a reading on stream, or you can request a story for me to do in one of my storytelling streams during the month that you subscribe. So, something to consider. But yeah, so whatever it is, these swords are at cross purposes with each other. So to me, this seems a little bit less like I'm fearful, I don't have all the information, I can't see clearly, I can't determine what's going to be safe or useful or productive, and more like my mind's working against me. My own mind, or... Oh, thank you, Crafty. Gah, you are too kind. You are too kind. So, don't put me on pizza. You are welcome to an on-stream tarot reading at some point, or absolutely think about it. No hurry, no rush. But yay, thank you. Welcome to being a subscriber. Sweet. Sorry. Right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get through this. I'm not gonna blush myself to death with excitement. I promise, probably. But yeah, so interference, more like locked or opposing ideas. Not just I can't see, I can't determine, but looks more like active opposition to me. So, in the Wooden Tarot, the Eight of Plumes, the equivalent of the Eight of Swords, we have 7 plumes, arrows in a quiver, and 1 hanging out. So this is still about, there's still a sense of containment, right? Maybe even of restriction, of holding back. These have not all been fired, they've not been spent, they've not been used. One's ready to be used, absolutely, pizza. One's ready. The rest are held in reserve. So that says to me that this is right in the shape of this. The quiver kind of indicates the bow as well, Pizza, absolutely. So this says to me that the sense of hesitation that I get here is about waiting for the right time, holding back for the right time, rather than waiting out of fear and uncertainty. Instead, we're keeping our resources until they're ready to be used. We're holding on to them until we're ready to put our ideas out into the world. Okay, so less of a fear-based or even kind of conflictual mental conflict kind of thing, and more of a, am I ready? Am I prepared? Is this the ideal moment? Yeah. Like so many times in the Wooden Tarot deck, it does a good job of being value neutral. Like, this obviously looks scary and negative. This could be negative or positive. I'm waiting till the right moment. It's not quite time. Or, oh, maybe I've been holding on to these too long. Maybe that's also true crafty. It does depict a weapon instead of, or at least ammunition, instead of feathers, just feathers on birds or some other arrangement like that. So there is still a certain amount of aggressiveness, of potential wounding or harm. But the fact that most of the arrows are held in reserve indicates a restrained approach to me. A restrained and tactical approach, not kind of... They're not scattered like the swords, just kind of willy-nilly around the landscape, which I like better. And then finally, for this card, got the Eight of Bells in the Numinous Tarot deck. We're back to something much closer to the Rider-Waite. It does echo the 3. And draws on the Rider-Waite-Smith images of feeling overwhelmed, feeling like too many things are coming at you at once. We've even got the blinded, although here it's self-inflicted. This figure is covering their own eyes. Whether because all the noise is just too much, or because they don't want to see and acknowledge what's going on, it's self-driven. And sometimes this is a useful coping mechanism. Sometimes there's just too much happening, just too much noise, too many voices, too many demands, too much mental chatter, and we need to block it out. We need to give ourselves that space. We need to be still, to collect ourselves for a bit. Yeah, because sensory overload's a real thing, and so is mental overload, right, Pizza? And sometimes we have to stop. We have to stop, and we have to give ourselves time to stay where we are before we open back up and move on. But I like that this card pushes me to ask, am I shutting down because I'm overwhelmed? And how do I need to take care of myself in that? Or am I shutting down, shutting things out because I just don't like the way they look or sound? Because I don't want to acknowledge that, right? Which can be a useful question to ask. So, overall, this tends, to me, the Eight of Swords and analogous cards tend to talk about we're confronted with something, we've got a challenge, we've got an obstacle, it seems too big. Our response is to stay where we are, shelter in place, freeze, and figure it out. There are differing approaches to that, right? But all of these are about not direct confrontation. Something happened. We're going to stay still till we know what it is. Right? We're going to stay still till we have a plan. And again, that can be a useful thing. That can be a paralyzing, a freeze us in place for longer than we need to be thing. So, but yes, don't put me on pizza. It's the stop and think card. So, moving right along. To the Eight of Discs, or Pentacles. Here, we've got an apprentice doing a repetitive task. This person is carving pentacle after pentacle after pentacle after pentacle, and like it's blurry, and I'm sorry, but to me he always just looks kind of bored and resigned. Okay, I have to keep doing this. This is the task I've been assigned. This is my busy work. He is Matricula. He's working very hard. Also crafty. Good observation. He's been productive. But, you know, he's been producing the same thing. Maybe he wants to make something pretty for once. Maybe he wants to make something complicated and interesting for once. Maybe he wants a bigger challenge. Thank you very much. So, this is about those times when... Absolutely, pizza. Some people like repetitive tasks. I like repetitive tasks sometimes. It can be a really useful way for me to zone out. And still feel productive. But I don't know, the expression on his face has always felt like, to me, it's always felt like, I'm bored. Just one more of these. Absolutely crafty. Pentacles are representative of wealth and resources. So this is about the grunt work, the logistics, the maintenance, not the big, sexy, interesting projects, right? Not the making a business plan, imagining your process, drawing out the house. This is about the everyday work. Yes, crafty. Absolutely. Keep hustling or keep practicing your craft. So this is about how we break big obstacles down into manageable pieces that we can just keep working on, one step at a time. And sometimes that can get tiresome, and sometimes that can get frustrating. But it is productive. Incrementally productive, but it's productive. It gets us there. And when we're able to move out of being caught up in our heads, sometimes the only thing that can help us get out of that stuck Eight of Swords place is having, okay, if I just do this, and then I'm just going to do this, and then I'm just going to do this, and then I'm just going to do this next thing. one small thing after the other. And sometimes that doesn't help at all. Like, let's be real. Sometimes that doesn't help me at all because so many small things. How am I going to do all the small things? But sometimes that kind of reframing really works. In the Thoth deck, rather than someone working hard, we have a beautiful tree with 8 gorgeous flowers, right? And this, right, Matricula, never stop the hustle. Never, never, never. Even when it's tiring, we keep going. We keep going. So we've got this beautiful tree, these beautiful flowers that have grown because someone took care of it. Someone planted it, someone watered it, maybe fertilized it. All of this work went into it so that it could produce. So again, oh, hi, Don Dois. Don Dois, like it's French, or Don Dois, or Duis. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing. But hi, Don. I am so glad to see you and welcome. Hi, awesome. Also excited that you found me through Instagram. Oh, hi. Yes, now I know. Awesome, yay. How are you? Oh, yay, thank you for being here. So, I'm sure you figured out we're working through the 8s of the Minor Arcana, and we're on the 8 of Discs right now. So, this feels much more organic and less hard work, possibly tedious work, than the 8 of Discs, but still. Oh, sorry. Pizza, that's a good point. The keyword on this card is prudence. So, indicating that someone's been careful and deliberate in caring for this and growing it. That this is a long-term effort. That it required maintenance and cultivation to get here. In some ways, this feels like a combination of the 7 and the 8 in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Right, exactly. Starting to see the rewards of the hustle, the time spent, the gardening, the weeding, the cultivation, little small actions starting to bear fruit. Like putting a thing up on Instagram and having an old friend show up. Yay! So, right, in the Wooden Tarot deck, we've got the 8 of Bones, which is 8 vertebrae. So again, this kind of reemphasizes the sense of the same thing repeated. But it's a spine, exactly, Pizza. It gives structure, it builds on itself. It's about building blocks, right? About alignment, about you're doing the same thing, but everything moves you one segment up, one segment closer to the top. Hi, Rock the Crone. Hello. Yes, so some of it's about preparation, I think, Rock the Crone, but I do think it's about acknowledging incremental progress and how all of our little steps are linked, because you don't get anywhere without all of these working together. You don't get a good bend without all of these being in alignment and doing what they're supposed to do. So to me, this talks has more of the inflection of putting a good system into place. Patience, absolutely rock the crone. Patience and persistence to build from the foundation, to have enough to stabilize you. Absolutely. I really like this take on the card. I find this particular one pretty evocative and useful. Yeah. That's not always the case with the Wooden Tarot Minors. I find some of them more helpful than others, but that one in particular I really like. So finally, the Eight of Tomes in the Numinous Tarot deck. We've got, I always imagine this, I suppose it could be really any circumstance where repairing of books, or I don't know, maybe maybe this person is making zines instead of repairing books, but I've always seen this, maybe because I worked in like the backroom administrative area of, oh, I'm sorry, I missed a trick. Oh no. Okay. Thanks pizza. And yes, Crafty, here again, it's about hard and repetitive work. This person is sewing together this book or zine, putting in the detailed, they're not designing it, they're not laying it out, they're not kind of doing the big, sexy, exciting work of what is this going to look like, what is this going to do. They're doing the functional, foundational, this doesn't work without this work. Sewing it together, maybe gluing, right? And it's clear that this is a space they spend a lot of time in. Abandoned teacups, juice box, like they're here a lot. So they're dedicated to it. They have absolutely rocked the crown. They have faith in the process, but it does take time, and it may get repetitive. It may get hard. It may be, I imagine it may be, that kind of work may get hard on your hands after a while, right? But yeah, so all of these talk about when we respond to obstacles or challenges by breaking it down into practical steps and doing one thing, then another thing, then another thing, then another thing, and building on that. And this card makes me feel called out a little bit, usually when it comes up, because I can be very bad at actually doing the small things that I need to do to build and put them all together and make it work. But that's what it's about. So, moving on to the wands. And folks, let me just say that it's awesome to see all of you here. Thank you so much for chatting, for asking questions, for throwing out observations. This is awesome. I'm having a wonderful time. And yeah, Crafty, large tasks are overwhelming. Oh, thank you, Crafty, very much. But yeah, I do try to stream twice a week if you want to follow me and be notified when I go up. Right? Dawn, one of the things I like about these streams is that they let me show off and talk about my pretty decks. I get to show you all my decks. Not all of my decks, but I get to show all of you my decks. And that's a lot of fun. So, Eight of Wands. So, where in the discs, we were doing the thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, step, 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 until we get where we're going. In the Eight of Wands, we are dashing ahead, full force, throwing everything at it. All of our willpower. To try and... This is the I attack the darkness card. All right. It doesn't matter what it is, what the obstacle is, what the challenge is. Throwing everything at it. Just all of it. Whatever it is. Don't put me on pizza. I have 5 decks that I use, and a few more that for either the pretty or the novelty value, like the Hieronymus Bosch deck. I don't read with that one, but it's interesting. And yeah, Rock the Crown. I and Crafty, I get this card. I feel this card. It would be so much easier sometimes if one big push was all it took to conquer the obstacle. If I could just throw everything I have at it for a given period of time and then be done, that would be great. And sometimes that approach works. And sometimes that approach works to get us far enough into a thing that we can pause, break down the rest of it, and go about it in a more leisurely manner. But this is about impatience. This is about urgency. This is about the willful response to conflict or obstacle. The what? You think this is going to faze me? Nope. I am plowing right on through this. Tarot calling everyone out since the 16th century? I forget. 14th? 16th? For years. It's okay, Rock the Crown. We all feel called out now and then. At least I do. So, in the Thoth deck, we're staying very much on the same theme. The keyword here, which you can't read at all, is swiftness. And we've got Mars up here. Oh, no, Sagittarius. Sorry. Sagittarius. Called out. Right here. Called out. Sagittarius and Mercury, I believe. Which, Mercury, right, as the Roman Hermes, is a god. God of swiftness, of messengers, of... Thank you, Crafty. I hope it's in a good way. Right, Mercury's the god of messengers, of cleverness, of wits, of thieves, and traders. So people who move, who work on tight time frames, who have a lot of urgency in their work. So it makes sense that Mercury would be associated with this card. And here we finally get a break from the fucking Golden Dawn Wands of the Order type thing. And we get some lightning bolts as our wands instead, which I quite like. And you're right, Pizza, it does kind of look like a kite. I also think it's interesting that there are a lot of different kind of triangular panels of shifting color within the central bit. And there's also the rainbow, which, now that I'm looking at it, makes me think of the way light pours through a prism, the dark side of the moon image. Light pouring through a prism and breaking into all the colors on the other side. Yeah, Dawn, a lot going on in this card. A lot of it. This one of the big differences I notice here is while this one, it looks like everything is moving, but it's all moving in the same direction. We're all flying off to the upper left-hand corner of the card, right? This one feels much more scattered to me because the lightning bolts are going off in the 8 points of the compass. I did say, Pizza, well remembered, I did say I attacked the darkness. The rainbow and a kite. There are worse things. There are worse ways to attack the darkness. So this one feels more scattered. This feels like the moment when you're trying to throw everything you have at that project at work and cleaning your house and that play you're in and that side hustle and da-da-da and da-da-da and da-da-da and da-da-da. All the directions, trying to throw everything in all the directions all at once. I don't think it's necessarily about multitasking, but that's one of the implications I get from this, is trying to throw your everything at everything, not just your everything at something. It does, Pizza. This asks not just how fast are you moving, how urgently are you throwing your energy at it, but are you putting too much of yourself? Exactly, Pizza. And are you throwing your energy in too many places so that it doesn't do any of them the most good? So in absolutely Rock the Crown, it does look like there is order to it, frenetic order, but these panels here kind of look like one wrong move and they could shatter apart. Dawn, no, what do you mean, Dawn? Starlight Mead is perfectly ordered all the time. It's not like they're going through big changes or anything. Also, I'm so excited for them. So excited. So excited. And I'll be there reading on the 28th at their Mead-O-Ween. So, sorry. Anyway, the Wooden Tarot, this card, yeah. The Eight of Stones, pretty direct callback, right, to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, with the 8 stones just kind of zooming off the card. This one doesn't necessarily do a whole lot for me, except that I think it's interesting that the leading points here are the red ends, showing where the energy is going. And Don't Put Me on Pizza yet kind of looks like blood. However, a lot of the crystals, a lot of the stones in the rest of this suit are red. So I don't think it's necessarily bloody or talking about that kind of sacrifice, but I do think it's interesting that all the color, all the energy is at this end. And to me that kind of speaks to me about the way that this kind of urgency and enthusiasm can drain everything from us for this one thing, this one project, leaving the rest of us pale, wrung out, with nothing to give. Whatever this is headed toward, it gets everything. There's nothing left for the rest of the stones. Shattered, right, Rock the Crown, shattered, drained, worn. Absolutely. So, In the Numinous Tarot deck, yes, absolutely. If this works, it comes with a cost. Well, if a costly victory or burnout, or both. This is useful in short spurts, but long-term strategy equals burnout. So the Eight of Candles in the Numinous Tarot deck. So we've got 8 yellow candles interspersed with hyacinths. And knowing the creator of this deck, the meaning of hyacinths is relevant here, but I'm not super familiar with that. I like them though, because the like week or 2 weeks in the spring when the hyacinths are blooming, it does give me this feeling. The smell of hyacinths just makes me feel like I want to run out and do all the things with all of the energy all at once. So regardless of what the actual meaning is, it makes sense. Yeah, Don't Put Me on Pizza asks, what are they trying to burn away? And yes, I think you're right, Rock the Crone. I think to me it looks like all of these flames, so all of their energy, all of their power are combining to send off. So hopefully you can see all of the candle wicks end in a little red triangle, little red upward pointed triangle. And the end of that's the alchemical, maybe? It's a symbol for fire. And that same symbol is echoed at the tip of the blue flame, which says that all these flames have combined into one fire. And you're right, Crafty. It is much more abstract than most of the Numinous cards. I like that we get a joining of energies here. Putting your whole self, putting all your eggs, all your energetic eggs into one basket, right? All your energy, all your power is combined toward one purpose. I like that it's a little more value neutral here, in that we don't see the candles being burned away. We see a unity of purpose and a focus, but not the kind of exhaustion or frenetic edge of things that we see here. And absolutely, it does echo the other decks, but it feels like there's more of an opportunity to moderate this, to use this energy and focus it rather than letting it take you over. Although there's always that danger, because when we go all in, sometimes it's hard to know where to draw the lines. And yes, absolutely, Rock the Crone, a moment of opportunity where we can really achieve something. And to me, okay, so also to me, as a witchy type, this says to me, this looks like kind of a classically Wiccan raising a cone of power thing. So classically Wiccan circle, you're doing a thing. You've set up your circle, you've set up your ritual, you're doing some kind of spell work. You're building up, raising up energy for a particular purpose. Maybe to send to someone who's sick, maybe to charge up an item, maybe to fuel some kind of more abstract working. But you're raising this energy. raising this energy. And the idea is that everyone is working together and in this moment putting their energy into the pot. And maybe you're singing, maybe you're dancing, maybe you're meditating, maybe you're chanting, but doing some way to communally focus your energy and raise your energy toward this goal. And in a traditionally Wiccan context, as I understand it, as I was taught, you visualize the energy coming together in the middle of you into a cone, right? So swirling together into a cone. Hi, Foxen. You are welcome to lurk. I'm happy to have lurkers. So it comes into a cone. You visualize it coming into a cone, and then when the energy peaks, you all visualize and usually do something physical to help yourselves envision it. You kind of throw or release that cone of power to whatever its purpose is. Off to the person who needs it, who's sick, or into the object, or wherever it goes. And that's what this really reminds me of. Folks focusing energy for a specific purpose, for a specific time, to really make something big and powerful that can go off and achieve something. So, to me, this looks like a project. This has much less clear boundaries on it. Yeah, Rock the Crone. That's one of the things I like about it. That the Numinous Tarot suggests, to me at least, a cooperative effort. A project, a particular... Yeah, Pizza, I don't... some of the others show things that could be... Right. In the Numinous deck, the Three of Cups shows 3 women adding ingredients to a cauldron. Sorry, Rock the Crown. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, some of the other cards in the Numinous deck definitely show ritual work in process. But I don't think it has to talk about a ritual proper, right? It can just talk about a project, a community effort, anything where energy is focused for a specific reason, for a specific time. Crafty, you are too kind, and I appreciate it immensely. So much. But, okay, right. I'm gonna blush more, and then I'm gonna move on to the Eight of Cups before I get super, super flustered, because Crafty is super kind. So, finally, thank you, Dawn. Finally, we've got the Eight of Cups. Oh, right. So the Eight of Wands kind of... No, I love it. It makes me all happy, Crafty. Right, so the Eight of Wands, in talking about the kind of the unifying themes, how the eights talk about responses or reactions to challenges. Eight of Wands, something about intense focus and like not necessarily open conflict, but direct confrontation. I see a thing, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do something about it directly. That thing is not going to stand in my way. You could simplify it to fight. So if swords were freezing up and or taking time to think, and discs were breaking a big obstacle down into manageable steps, absolutely, Pizza. Take immediate action. Absolutely. Yes. This is the Eight of Cups in the Rider-Waite-Smith version is a retreat. Walk away, retreat, get some distance. So we've got the Eight of Cups lined up. Yes, Wreck the Crone. No time for the cups. And I like that the cups are arranged so there's a space there. There's a space left. And I feel a sneeze coming on is what I feel. But something is missing. I feel like that's the space that he's vacating, that he's walking away from. And there's water because it's a cups card. It's night or twilight. This feels like a twilight card. And this isn't a running away, right? It's not a dash, not a mad dash. But it's a retreat. It's deciding to take a different path, deciding to turn away from the way you were going. Yeah, you don't have to fix everything. Maybe not everything is fixable. And that's okay. I'm sorry, pizza. Everyone gets a turn tonight, apparently. We'll wait and look for matriculus. But yeah, walking away, taking some time, taking a retreat, finding some space for yourself. Now maybe you get to come back. Maybe this isn't forever. But your immediate response to the obstacle, to the thing right in front of you is, I need to go back, or go away, or not deal with this right now. It's not the freezing in place of the swords. It's the, I'm taking a step back. I'm actively going away. Well, every card. Yeah, matriculates. I have those days too. Pizza. Yes. We'll just let everyone be called out in the privacy of their own hearts. But yes, boundaries. Not our circus, not our monkeys. Right, Matricula? So, in the Toth deck, the keyword for this card is indolence. So indolence meaning laziness, meaning inactivity. As you can see, hopefully, the three top cups here. Well, first of all, we have a stormy ass sky over an ocean, over very still and raindroppy ocean? I don't know. But stormy fucking sky. The top three cups are cracked and broken. There's no water in them, no water running in them. There are only 2 lotus faucets for the whole 8 cups. And they're only pouring into 2 cups. And the 2 cups that have water, half the water is pouring down into these 2, half the water is running out through a crack back into the ocean. And this one's just kind of standing there, being, right? And yeah, pizza, maybe the storm hasn't happened yet. So this has a less, It does, Rock the Crown. It feels more static. It feels, yeah, crafty. It can be a waste of limited resources. In a bigger sense, to me, it feels like emotional distance, but not necessarily the productive kind of specifically separating yourself and taking some space and distance for yourself. But yes, Rock the Crown, numbing, self-protective numbing. Cups are about matters of the heart, absolutely, an emotion. So this feels to me like self-protective numbing and unconscious emotional withdrawal and stagnation. Just being emotionally unavailable. Not a deliberate retreat so much as just kind of turning things off at the source or slowing the source to a trickle. Yeah, that's a good observation, Rock the Crown. The stormy sky, these conditions, accepting these conditions as normal, getting used to operating on a trickle of emotion, on a trickle of emotional energy and access. It definitely feels like a less healthy card than this one, which, I mean, sometimes an emotional distancing isn't healthy. Sometimes it's, especially if we do it without being aware that that's what we're doing, and we usually end up just kind of numbing ourselves and building structures that don't last. So it's got a point. I think overall maybe not as helpful advice, but a point. So, in the Wooden Tarot, the Eight of Blooms, we've got a moon in the center here, partially eclipsed, right? So it's, or not partially eclipsed, a waning moon. Well, your turn has come, Matricula. We are all being called out tonight. So we've got a waning moon here. So it's going away. It's fading, as retreating as part of its monthly cycle and process. So this talks about a periodic or a cyclical retreat. And then it's surrounded by 8 petals. At least these look like petals to me, right? So, I love you, Matricula. I try. So 8 petals in varying states of, like, this one kind of looks like it's curling up and hiding from itself. I feel like it's waning pizza. I feel like it moves right to left, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna pretend it's waning though, because that makes more sense. And so to me, because the petals are partial flowers, right? They're parts of flowers that have been disconnected from the whole flower. So to me, this talks about not just a cyclical waning, going away, but also a little bit of that disconnect that we talked about here. Oh, good. Yay. Thank you, pizza. Fact checker. So it's waning. And we've got parts of our heart. Parts of the bloom. That maybe Rock the Crown, exactly, maybe we need to let go of. Maybe they're not serving us anymore. But the thing I really like about this is that it specifies a time. It says this is a phase. This is a time. This is the time to retreat. This is the time to close off, to let yourself drop your petals, to let yourself turn that spigot back to a trickle, to conserve your emotional energy, to hide if you need to. Oh my goodness, my phone is ringing. I am so sorry. Let me make that go away. Lord, that's embarrassing. Now I feel personally called out. This is what happens when Google is connected to your phone service, people. Fine. Took that going back to being an asshole thing seriously, Crafty. No, I joke. I joke because I love. I am matriculate. I'm called out by my fucking phone. All right. Okay, so. Lesson. Close all of your Gmail tabs before you stream. All of them. All of them. I love you all too. Very much. You are awesome. Thank you for your patience. So this one talks about it being a cyclical retreat. We go away for a while, we come back as big and bright as ever. But we go away for a while. We retreat, we take time for ourselves, we take time to be in the darkness, we take time to be away from it. Finally, the Eight of Vials in the Numinous Tarot deck. Yeah, Rock the Crown. The symmetry is really nice in the petals. So we've got in here, we've got this person standing, looking a little bit dejected, or a little bit sad, a little bit done, hanging out outside of the house with the party in it. Yep, exactly, pizza. There's a party going on inside. Apparently quite a lot of booze. 8 vials. But they're done. They're done with the noise. Maybe they're forlorn. Maybe they're overloaded. Maybe they've, right, pizza, maybe they've given up on whatever substances are being used inside Rock the Crown. Maybe they're just admitting to themselves that they're not in the mood to party tonight. On another night, they might be for it. They might be all in. They might be ready to be rowdy and really engage. That's a good point, Crafty. That it reminds you a little bit of the Five of Pentacles. It has echoes of that in that there's a very definite outside-inside. The person in focus is on the outside. However, unlike the Five of Pentacles or the Five of Discs, I don't get the feeling that this person wishes they were inside. I mean, maybe they feel lonely, but I don't get the feeling here that it's deliberately excluded. Might be. It might also be, yeah, I think that here it's a choice. Crafty, absolutely. Although my interpretations here, I read through the book that came with the Numinous Tarot, just because I was curious, and so when I got it, and it's a really well written book, and I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone. It's a really good take on things, especially for queer folk. The creator of this deck is NB themselves and really wonderful. But yes, Rock the Crown. Maybe lonely around people, or maybe just done. Maybe this just isn't where they needed to be right now, what they needed to be doing. Maybe it's a momentary break to cool down, quiet down, center themselves, and breathe a little bit, have a little bit of quiet. Or maybe he's gone, or maybe they're going home for the night and they're just done. And they had, either way, to me, this talks about having the awareness to identify that and be good enough to yourself to say, okay, even if I want to be here, even if part of me is sad about having to miss out, I'm not feeling it. I don't need to be inside right now. That's a good point. As I was looking at this, Rock the Crown, you pointed out that the cigarette's left burning on the ledge. That's a really good point. I was noticing the smoke, but I hadn't fully gotten to the cigarette yet. Yes, Crafty. Yes, I really hate that feeling, the I want to be here, or the I know that on another night I would really be enjoying this, and I want to have that experience now. So yeah, the cigarette to me says, I came out for a breather. However this is going to end, to me that's how it began. I came out to take a breath, to give myself some space. So as often happens, it's definitely echoing the intentional retreat that we see here. I'm intentionally leaving what's not working. I'm intentionally giving myself space, doing something different, going a different direction. Even if that's hard, even if that feels like missing out, like a loss. Like leaving things unfinished. Maybe it's not important for me to stay here and finish my cigarette. Maybe that's a really minor thing, all things considered, and I just need to go home and go to bed. But yeah, I like, and all of the discussion around this one card is a really good example of why I really love this deck. All of the questions that are so easily raised by these cards. Yeah, Rock the Crown, it's, I mean, it's only kind of hipster. It's very adorable and very queer and very inclusive. Yeah, wait. So, and I could definitely see how the selection of colors and the brightness and some of the big contrasts in the deck wouldn't be for everyone. And there's definitely some of the art that I like better than others in this deck. But I love the way it asks questions. I love the way it makes me ask questions. So even when the art isn't my favorite ever, I love the way it makes me ask questions. So we've got the strategic retreat, not quite flight, but strategic retreat, distancing, taking space, taking time as a possible response to challenges, to obstacles, to things that have come up. So we are moving towards wrapping up here. Pizza, I know you had a question. Let me see, where am I going? There I am. So if you would like to ask that now, you are more than welcome before we close out. And while that's happening, originally, thank you, Crafty. Yes, if you want to find me, you're welcome to come see us in the Discord, the Social Justice Bards Discord. I have my own little channel in there where I post stream updates, and you're welcome to ask me questions. Sorry, Crafty, my commands are different. I also give readings elsewhere. You can find me there. Okay. All right. Don't put me on pizza. Let's see. A few streams ago, when Pizza asked about the order that I show the decks in, I mentioned that I had an order for showing the suits, and they hadn't asked about that yet. Yeah, so I do have an order for showing the suits, and as with many things with me, it's kind of just contrarian, partially. It's partially contrarian. The typical way that I see suits organized or prioritized is, if you're talking hierarchy, it goes discs or coins or pentacles, swords, cups, wands. And this is because, I'm sure there are more involved esoteric explanations for it, but the ones that I remember, it's partially a kickback to like Platonic elements. The heavier is the lower. The heavier, that which is heavier is coarser, baser, batterer. So earth is at the bottom because it's the densest and the heaviest. So pentacles. And then air rises above earth. Water, it gets a little squishy, okay? It's not perfect. Air isn't heavier than water, but steam rises through the air. Rain falls from the sky. It's Platonic cosmology. It's not perfect. And then fire rises up through everything to the like spectral fire. No, Pizza, you're trying to apply like science and modern logic to Platonic cosmology. There's only so much. And also there's also a thing in there about the masculine coded elements are always over the feminine coded elements. So earth, feminine, traditionally. Air, masculine, traditionally. Water, feminine, traditionally. Fire, masculine, traditionally. Okay? And I'm a contrarian. I have rearranged these to it's true. Because our brains, don't put me on pizza, you say that you've noticed swords are really emotionally heavy. Rock the Crown, Girls on Top, absolutely. But yeah, swords are emotionally heavy because our brains can do all kinds of bad shit to us. Our brains are super good at cutting us open. And yeah, they are, at least in the Rider-Waite-Smith, they are a lot of the gut punch suits. They have a lot of the gut punch cards. And I put them first because, at least for me, it took me a long time to get to a point where intellect was not the top of the hierarchy for me. So I put them first to, partially because I'm contrarian, and partially to remind myself that my brain, my mind, my intellect, my anxiety, all that goes with it, doesn't get to have like top tier importance necessarily. And then discs, because I mean, the practical stuff is important, but it's also really hard, and honestly, I value other things more. Willpower, the wands, willpower, creativity, transformation. Bye, Crafty. Thank you so much for being here. We're running long, so I absolutely duck out when and as needed, but thank you for being here. Thank you for the sub. Thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate it immensely. And then the cups on tippy top, partially because I like to privilege water, and partially because Amor Winkett on Omnia, love conquers all. It doesn't necessarily, but I like to arrange them that way. So there we go. Pizza. It's largely me being kind of cross and contrarian. Let me see who is on right now. Unless folks have other questions. Oh, yeah, Rock the Crown. That's a really good point. Ooh, Kitty Actually's on. We're gonna go raid her. Oh god. Rock the Crown, now you have me thinking of that terrible, well, not terrible, but that how to prioritize your life exercise with the big jug and the big rocks and the smaller rocks and the smaller rocks in the water. But yes, you're not wrong. I know, right? No. More like a layered cocktail, right? Yeah, we'll go with that. Sorry, thank you, Matricula. There is my raid call. I'm going to copy my raid call, maybe. There we go. So we're going to raid pizza. It's a terrible, often Christian life advice thing, and don't worry about it. It's not worth it. So we're going to go raid Kitty Actually. There's my raid call. I know we might have some new folks, so if you've never done this before, the channel's going to be switching over to another streamer who is awesome and a really fun singer. So we're going to go over and see her. You can post that Starshine, Moonshine, Joyshines thing when we get there to let them know where you're coming from. And so we'll be heading over there in just a second. Right, we're closing out. Have a good day, y'all. Have a good day. We'll see you over there. Bye.